Welcome to my podcast, The Next Gen Environmental Firm. We're talking with environmental sustainability companies, organizations. And today we have Rochelle Byrne from a company that she will introduce very soon. Welcome, Rochelle.
Thank you.
I usually have like introduction, what they do, but today I would like to have slightly different approach. And imagine that you come to the dinner party and nobody knows about environmental sustainability, and they have a zero idea about that. Carbon footprints is their shoe size for them. And someone approach you and says, so what do you do? What is your story?
So, my story, I started A Greener Future, which is an environmental nonprofit. Originally, it was just me going around in my community doing litter cleanups, and I would collect data on what I was finding. And originally, my goal was to pick up 1 million pieces of litter. And I soon found that more often I went out, more people wanted to come and join me. So I started setting up events and then applying for funding so that I could get equipment and permits and make things a little bit bigger. And I ended up incorporating as a nonprofit because there was a real need. Not only did people want to come out and help me, but there was also a lot of garbage on the ground. So it all started with just simple litter cleanups. And through collecting the data, I was able to see what the problem items were and dig a little deeper to find out why we were having these issues and what solutions might work to help prevent those waste items from ending up in the environment. So then it got a little bit more educational. And then I got a little bit more into advocacy. And now it's been 11 and a half years. And it's been really cool to see how the organization has changed and grown over those years. Because now this summer, we'll have 15 full time staff. We'll be running hundreds of litter cleanups. And when we have that big, like it's scaled much bigger, we have a much bigger impact because we can have a lot more volunteers come out and join us. So in the end, it turned out to be much more than just picking up garbage. It's really about the community and bringing people together and giving them something like an action that they can do to help protect the planet that doesn't take a lot of effort. I think if we all come together, we can make a much bigger impact just doing simple things.
Brilliant. What you do day to day? What is your work?
Yeah, so I haven't done a litter cleanup in quite some time because I'm in Canada and everything's buried in snow.
Okay.
So it is a little bit seasonal, but during the off season, there's still lots to do. I'm always applying for grants and funding. I'm building partnerships. I'm doing the hiring and interviews. I'm running the website, doing social media stuff. So there's always something to do. What started out as kind of a side project turned into something much bigger and much more complex. So when it comes to day-to-day operations, there's things like accounting and taxes and, all the other sides of like running a business that I have to look after as well.
Now let's shift a little bit to different directions. So imagine 5 years from now. There is huge headline in a newspaper about your organization. What would you wanted to see the headline be?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think something along the lines of the impact that we make, and being able to put forward a real change. So, for instance, during the months of April and September, we run a program called the Butt Blitz, where we focus on cigarette litter specifically, and we try and pick up 1 million cigarette butts in just 1 month across
Nice.
Canada, and we recycle them. And it's not that to us, it doesn't matter if people smoke. We just want them to do it responsibly, and not put the cigarette butts on the ground. So I think when it comes to changes in society, it would be amazing if we could see a significant change in the amount of waste that we're finding on the ground. If I tried to do a cigarette litter cleanup and couldn't find any cigarette butts, that would be a miracle. So I think it would be really cool to see something in the paper about, eradicating litter in a certain area or a certain type of litter, especially things that are very toxic like cigarette butts.
If I could remove one barrier, what that would be to achieve this headline?
Yeah, I think so. I think the main thing that it comes down to is when I first started this, I went to school for environmental science. I had no business background whatsoever. So the whole process of building up to this point has been a big learning curve for me, learning how to do all of the business side of things, and especially when it comes to HR and accounting and things that I have never had to learn before. So I think getting started, it was a little slow because I had to personally learn all these things. And now that I have, I'm seeing more momentum. So I do think that that type of goal is achievable, and maybe even in 5 years, who knows? Because I feel like we're on a real good trajectory now. But that being said, there's still a lot more that I need to learn, especially when it comes to scaling. I know a lot of it has to do with building relationships, and especially with volunteers and donors and corporate partners and um, granting organizations. And, like there's a lot of moving parts because we need the funding to move forward and to be able to hire more people and, host more cleanups and do more research. Um, so I think the biggest thing holding me back would probably be just trying to figure out the next step. Where do we go from here in order to get to that end point?
What would be one goal that you would like to achieve within the 5 years?
I think becoming $1 million nonprofit would be fantastic to have those resources and to be able to have the staff, because that's something that AI can't do for us. When we're out there hosting cleanup events, we can't just send a robot out to do the
Exactly.
events for us. So I think having people on our team is essential. There are a lot of things we can automate, but we need to be able to provide jobs. And in the past, we've done a lot of contracts, but it's so beneficial to be able to have permanent full time staff that know the organization inside and out and can bring that knowledge into our future where we're making decisions and, they have the experience with the organization to make the best choice. So, growing our staff is essential in order to build a strong organization that can really focus on our future goals and implement them, because we need that knowledge within our organization to keep moving forward.
Are you watching any shifts within the, environment, within the um, sustainability that will affect your organization growing forward?
Yeah, I think there's always changes going on, especially when it comes to funding. There's a lot of government grants that have been cut more recently. So we've had to adapt and look elsewhere for funding. Um, it's a solvable problem. There's enough money out there in the world. We just have to find it. But I think overall, I think also a shift in the generations. Um, that's a big one too, because people are more aware of environmental issues, more willing to help, and more willing to donate as well. So I think as we move forward and people become more educated about climate change and educated about the environmental issues that are happening in their own backyard, we're able to gain more support. And whether that means more followers on social media, more people reading our newsletter, more people showing up at our events, that's all important. We just want people to know about the problem so that they can care about it.
Which part of outreach, works the best for the moment for your organization?
Yeah, it's we have to do it all. There isn't one way that really does a lot better than any other way. We do use social media. We have a website. We use we have a monthly newsletter. We have Google ads. We do some social media ads. We try and get into the local newspapers and on the 6 o'clock news. We're, always trying to set up different partnerships where we can leverage, other people's resources too when it comes to getting seen. Um, it's tricky because there's so much going on in the world. It's really hard to get your foot in the door anywhere. But I think it's just you just keep going and you keep trying and you keep bringing everyone along for the ride. So all the people that you pick up along the way, those are all great resources to meet new people. So
Right.
It just more or less it takes time, and you have to build your reputation too, because when I was a brand new organization and no one knew what we were doing or why, it was very hard to get people to back me. But now that we've grown and we have corporate sponsors, that gives us a little bit more authority to say, like, what we're doing is important and you should join us.
Could you give me like 30 seconds elevator speech for the donations or for your corporate partners? What we do that you could help us with?
Yeah. So I would say the main thing that we do is we host public litter cleanups so that people within the community can come out and do something positive for the environment. And on top of that, we collect data so that we can make change. So that might be using the data to support public policy change. It might be using the data for other grant proposals to make bigger projects, or even just using the data to get more garbage cans installed in a certain area. There's so many different ways that we can use that data. And it's also really important that people in our communities can be part of that process because we're all in this together. These are the communities we live in, and everybody should be able to help and have a say in what we do to move forward in a more positive way.
So currently you're in Canada. Are you planning to expand in USA or other countries?
It is a possibility. I think for now we're happy in Canada because there's still lots of litter here that we have to pick up. But I am very happy to spread what I'm doing elsewhere. I know there's a lot of organizations around the world who have contacted me to find out more about what I'm doing so that they can do something similar. So I'm also open to that because I don't think what I'm doing is a trade secret. I think it's important that more people do what I'm doing so that we can have this positive change across the world.
If you would like to fix one thing in your organization right now that's holding you back or slowing you down, what that would be?
I think probably just being able to focus on what is most important because it's so overwhelming when you want to do all of the things. And there's not enough time in the day to do it. So, being able to run our programs really efficiently and effectively and getting the most impact out of them, it can be tricky, especially while scaling. Because if it's small and you just have a small group of people and you don't have to do too much, it's easy, relatively easy. But then when you scale up and you have like thousands of volunteers, it gets a lot more complex. And we want to make things as easy as possible for our volunteers and for our corporate sponsors and for everyone involved. But when we get to that high level of complexity, when there's so many things going on, literally hundreds of events every year, um, it's tricky to manage. Just being able to keep on top of everything and make sure that everybody's getting what they need.
You mentioned at the beginning that you're doing advocacy as well. Could you expand on this and explain what you do with your organization and what you do personally in advocating the policies?
Yeah, so we're not a policy based organization, but we do collect the data and share it with other organizations that are more focused on policy. And that's one thing when I talk about not spreading yourself too thin and not doing too many things. Um, we would need to hire people that are, really knowledgeable in policy in order to be able to tackle that issue. But we're informed enough that we can share what we need with other organizations whose sole focus is to change policy. And we're really happy to be able to have those partnerships because it also gives us leverage too. Um, so I think that's a really big part of growth and moving forward is to be able to build those partnerships and build those bridges so that more can be done and we can share the resources that we're accumulating together to make a bigger impact.
Fantastic. That's really cool. What about if someone comes to your organization, the volunteer or maybe potential employee? what you will tell to them, where to start and how to join your organization.
Yeah, I think starting small. It can be so overwhelming to know where to start when it comes to the environment. It's such a big, complex problem. When you talk about climate change or waste or pollution, or even toxins and chemicals that are entering the environment or that are impacting us, like our drinking water and our food and that sort of thing. Microplastics are a huge issue right now. So um, it's can cause a lot of anxiety for people to try and figure out where to start or what to do. And I think the biggest thing is just do one thing. Just start with something, and then once you get a handle on that, then do something else. And um, even personally for the past 10 years, I've been slowly changing habits and, looking for more sustainable products and being more mindful about what I purchase. And it didn't happen overnight. It's been 10 years of taking small actions to get to this point. So I'd say just pick one thing and start with that. And then when you're comfortable with that, move on to the next thing.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this insight and for information. And I hope more people will hear the message and come to you, to your organization, and follow your events in and can contribute to environment in the very simple, easy way. Thank you, Rachel.
Absolutely. Thank you.